Now I ask 2 or 3 questions, right? If the union government, which basically makes 18-20% of its revenue on these taxes alone, is asking the question, why did the states not cut, or why did some states not cut when we cut? The first question I would ask is, actually the facts are wrong, because the government of Tamil Nadu cut before the union government cut. We cut in August, they only cut in November for the elections. We cut after the elections, they cut before the elections. The second question I would ask is, if I had, like you, raised it 3 times, 5 times, 7 times and then cut it once, it's fair that you say you rose like me, you cut like me. When we only rose it a small amount and they rose 5 times, 7 times, 10 times and then cut it back once or twice, how is it fair? Immediately I'd say, if I didn't cut, it's because I didn't rise like you. If I had risen it up like you, raised it like you, then it's fair to say, why did you not cut it? Right? But beyond all that, I'm asking a couple of questions, right? What really pained me yesterday was the notion where the Prime Minister suggested that not cutting taxes in synchronization with them was somehow against the spirit of fiscal federalism. That's just unfathomable to me. Because I asked the question, what is fiscal federalism? Is it that we are supposed to be extended arms of the union government without independent thinking, independent decision making, and we're supposed to say whatever you say we do? Is that what is fiscal federalism? Not in my understanding. In the Constitution, it says that states and union government are equal arms of government, not one on top of the other, not one dictated to by the other, not one expected to be a follower of the other. That's why we run separate elections. So in this system, I ask, is it in the nature of cooperative federalism that the union government has changed the cesses and surcharges, almost tripled them? About 6% of the UPA government's last years of revenues came from cesses and surcharges. Today, about 20% of the union government's revenues come from cesses and surcharges, which, as you know, are not divided to the states. Is that fiscal federalism? Is taking away the states' rights to taxation, putting it into GST, which one of the greatest opponents was the then Chief Minister of Gujarat, Honorable Chief Minister Mr. Modi, is removing the state's power to vary its own commercial tax. Is that fiscal federalism? Is continuing to run such redistributive policies that for a state like Tamil Nadu, which once used to get back 60 or 65 paisa of every rupee of taxes that went from here. We're a federal system. We understand that rich states should give more and get less, and we understand poor states should give less and get more. Happens in every country. But every other country in the world, the more wealth transfer happens, the more the gap narrows. In India, we keep on giving more and more. At one point, we used to get 65 paisa, then 60 paisa, then 55 paisa, then 55. Today, we get about 35 paisa back for every rupee of taxes taken from Tamil Nadu. And the gap between us and, let's say, Uttar Pradesh or Bihar keeps widening all this while. Is it fiscal federalism where the money that is returned to us from the union, which is a small subset of what we have paid, it comes in two categories, one share of taxes and one grants and schemes? Is it fiscal federalism where grants and schemes, which once used to be about 2/3 the taxes, that means you think of grants and schemes as tied funds, you can only use it the way they say so, and share of taxes is our money coming back, or some small fraction of our money coming back to us for us to make in our legislature a presentation and get the members to approve the government's expenditure. Is it fiscal federalism that grants and schemes are now 130% of the taxes sent to us when it once used to be 65%? Is it fiscal federalism that the union government legislates from education to entrance exams to dam safety to port safety to agriculture to all the things which are on the state subject and which are 100% funded with only state money? Every medical college in Tamil Nadu operates 100% on the state money, that small portion of our taxes that come back to us and our assembly allocates. Is it fiscal federalism that the union government should tell us what exam we should conduct for running our health system and our colleges and our education? Is it just I'll just say 2 more points. One, after the so-called synchronization of tax cuts with the BJP-led states and the union. What is the current rate of taxation today? Let me tell you. Highest rate of taxation in the country on petrol, Madhya Pradesh. Who runs the Madhya Pradesh government? Which party? BJP. Not the DMK, right? Just checking. After the cut of Uttar Pradesh, the rate is 26.8%. Without any cut, the Tamil Nadu rate is about 27-28%. Right? So this notion that somehow states that are not governed by the BJP because the people did not vote for them, which is Maharashtra, the ones the Honorable Prime Minister cited yesterday, somehow did something incongruous, is completely belied by the data, But I ask the last question. Just put yourself back 10 years. Imagine that this was Dr. Manmohan Singh at the union government asking all the states to cut taxes because he said so or because he encouraged it. And today's Honorable Prime Minister, who was then the Chief Minister of Gujarat, anybody want to hazard a guess what his reaction would have been if the union government had asked him that he should synchronize his taxation policy to the union government's taxation policies?